back. Today's subject is going to be this, well, it's a ficus, once again. Sold in stores mostly as either a Ficus Retusa or a Ginseng ficus. Sometimes they say Ficus Ginseng, Ginseng ficus. It's actually neither one. I guess there is a species or subspecies, whatever that might be, of ficus that is called Retusa, but it's not really used for bonsai, and I guess it's only found in other parts of the world. And then there's also no such thing as a species of Ginseng ficus at all. But what it is it's generally it's a larger leaf Ficus microcarpa roots that they take and they grow really rapidly, and it gets the nice big fat roots on there. They cut off the top and then they graft on a type of Ficus microcarpa that has smaller leaves so that it looks more like a bonsai. And you know, the roots look ginseng-like. And for some reason they were just calling these Ficus Retusas for years, but who knows why. But I got it like 2.5 years ago, and of course then, you know, I joined all my bonsai Facebook groups and everything, and of course everybody says, you know, that's just a piece of crap and it'll never make a good bonsai and everything. And I mean, I kind of agree with them now that I've been in the hobby long enough, but can't just bring myself to throw something away. So I worked on doing something unique with it. Basically took and shoved the rock up in there. You guys have been seeing pictures up in the upper left hand corner, I think. But today I am going to put it in this pot here. You guys can't really see the pot there, can you? But I'm going to put it in this pot here. I think it should look pretty good. But our local bonsai nursery here, sometimes they put on their Facebook page that they had some stuff damaged in shipping. You know, it's just a $5 pot and had a crack in it. So when they unboxed it, so I'll put it in there. No real big investment or anything. I am going to make another video of when I initially first wired this. One of these pieces just came right out of the graft, and I put that in a little tiny pot, a little tiny rock, and that really worked out well. It's almost getting too big for the rock, but it looks good right now. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the wires off, and I'm going to get the pot ready. I put, you can see it's got the big drainage holes. I take some of the screen. This is just hobby screen for knitting. They sell this kind of screen in like 3 squares. At most bonsai shops, it's pretty expensive. I just buy this as like it's a craft for knitting or whatever, and I cut squares and I'll put it over those 2 holes there. I'm not going to tie this one in. The weight of the rock should hold it in. Plus, I don't really want a bunch of wires clasping the whole thing in. But I'm going to get the pot ready, and before I do go, I was going to mention and show one last picture here where at one point it had a big mass of foliage. And let me see if I can figure out where that spot was. I can't really see where that spot was anymore. But that was a what they call a crown gall that's common with grafting. Actually, I think it was right there. That was a crown gall with grafting. And it was mounting up, almost looked like a big ball of ants or something. And everything was coming out of that one spot. So that's one of the reasons why, even though I've had it for 2.5 years, the foliage isn't that much on there. Also, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Let me see. Right here and here, some of these tube roots were coming out and crossing. I was kind of under the impression that it would have a quick enough growth rate where it would overcome that, and it really hasn't. But I just kind of wanted to point that out when you cut these roots off. I thought that it would just grow fast enough, it would just kind of envelop the scar there. I don't know. I may try to drill some of it out. But for right now, I'm going to take the wire off, get this pot ready to go, and come back and we'll repot it. You can, one very last thing here before I go, we'll point out that you can see here, roots coming out of the bottom. I have it sitting on a piece of like landscape fabric to prevent weeds, just sitting right on top of that on the ground, and it grows right through that and into the ground, and Just kind of helps it get a little bit extra vigor. I'm kind of, like I said, kind of surprised that it doesn't have a bigger amount of foliage on there, but a lot of that did have to do with whatever that crown gall thing was or whatever. I've never really heard of it before, but when I googled it, it did look like exactly what I had there. All right, and let's see what this guy is going to look like in this new pot. So, I don't know if I mentioned in one of my other videos that I tried these things a little bit. I don't really think they're the greatest thing for ficus. I don't know, I'm not that sure about the escape route technique as far as everything. You can see it only got one. I think there's some species of plants that kind of don't like being root bound. Let me try it. I actually do think that ficus like being root bound. So, I'm not really sure that this is all that great. But as I get it up out of here, it should come right out. I am going to get this new pot here ready. My biggest concern is that the roots are going to be gripping on the bottom of the plastic mesh, and I'm going to have to pick that off. I can't just like unpot it like if it was in a solid brown or like a black or green nursery pot or whatever. I just pull it out as soon as it got loose and make the switch. Don't really think it's going to need much pruning, as far as root pruning goes, to kind of flatten it out some. But we'll see what it looks like here. I am going to kind of get this new pot over here on the side ready to go. I don't really necessarily feel like I have to throw away all of the soil that was in here. So I'm going to let a little of the used stuff kind of spill to the bottom. But go ahead and just start getting it out of this mesh thing here. If it will move, yeah, and of course it is stuck. So, with the weight of this rock, should be able to just kind of convince it off here. There we go, that wasn't too bad. And there we go. Try to, said I will not prune those roots much, but I do want to break up. I don't want it to be like perfectly right in the shape of whatever you want to call this thing here. Just kind of want to tease it out a little bit. It's got a good hold of the rock. I don't know, in the earlier part of the video when I was showing you when I switched it from being completely buried, I had it buried probably up to about here. When I switched it from being completely buried into this pot, it had a pretty good hold of it then. It still has a pretty good hold of it. I mean, if I teased it off there, I could get it out of there if I wanted to, but at this point, I don't really know what else I would do with it with these long roots and everything. See, this one kind of curls under. But actually, I will cut that. That one is just long and coming over that way. Don't really need to keep that guy. And there's another really long one there. I can kind of pop that one off, I think. Maybe encourage them to be a little more radial in here. But actually, I think it's going to be a pretty good fit there, actually. So, since it is a little tighter of a fit than I thought it was going to be, so I will not use up any of this. I will not use any of the used soil in there. I'll just put some fresh stuff on top. There's fresh stuff on the bottom. There's a little layer on the bottom. I'm hoping that it'll kind of, with that screen in there, to keep the soil from coming right out of the bottom. And then, you know, once again, this is bonsai soil. It's just got a little bit of bark fines or whatever, and then the lava rock and pumice. I think that's a piece of the bark there. I don't really know. I don't question them all that much. It is the slightly more expensive mix that the nursery here has. But that's what was across the bottom of the pot. And now I'm just kind of going to put it in the rest of it here. There's a little bit of a misconception. Some people, they say, oh, well, those are just pebbles. Like, I can use fish tank pebbles or whatever. You really can. It's got to be more of what's designed for that. I mean, if you Google the science of bonsai soil, you'll come across some pretty good videos about that. I don't feel like getting all that deep into that. But it's not just little rocks. You can't just go down and collect them out of the river or buy a river rock like for a fish tank or anything like that. This is what they have figured out to be the best stuff to use for. Bonsai. 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 Finished up. I just wanted to change the camera angle to get a better look at it when it was done. Looks a lot better in that pot than in that little mesh school project thing I had it in. When I did take the wire off, I hit this stuff with a Dremel just a little bit. Took out some of the bulk in there, and it should, as it heals up, hopefully envelop a little more than it was. Wasn't really doing it at all, but yeah, this is usually the part of the video after repotting that you get the obligatory watering in, but I gotta wait to get it outside for that. I'm not gonna do that inside here. You can see I dremeled that out a little. So just took out all the dead wood I could find and got back to where it's live wood, and that should give the live roots here something more to grow over. But I think it came out looking pretty. Aftercare, what I'm going to do, I did mention it's not tied in. I wouldn't have really had anywhere to tie it in. It's in here pretty solid. Usually what I would do after repotting is I'd have it in, I have a place in the shade where the cats and the birds and everything, we'd get some really aggressive blackbirds around here that'll kind of, or I guess they're bluebirds, but they'll land and take off and knock things over. So I may put it in the shade for a little while until I see it start to recover. I do like to leave most of the foliage on there because the growing tips is what signals the plant to grow more roots. So this should grow more roots and get it in there. Once I see evidence of new growth, I'll probably go ahead and prune it and perhaps wire it. I might make a video doing that, just kind of depending on, I don't know, how interesting it looks and everything. But what I would usually do is leave it in the shade for, I don't know, a week or two, and then put it out in the sun once I notice it grow. Let it grow a little more, and then prune and wire it again. I'd like to get the foliage maybe a little tighter to the rock, a little bit down lower here, so that there is some attention left on the rock. You don't really want a big, huge, you don't want the foliage going way up here and forget that, kind of the whole point of doing a root over rock like this is the rock. There's a bagworm there. I see people say that they can do some real damage. I haven't really seen much evidence of damage. If anybody knows if they will, you could let me know in the comments. But anyway, that's all we're going to do for today. I'm going to take it outside and water it. Sorry, I'm going to take it outside and water it. Please like and subscribe.